Sign this divorce paper. This is what my husband said after taking his mother's lying words as gospel truth and throwing me and our children in the snow. Whether it was me or someone else, I just could not do that. I told my husband the truth, and that is, from here on out, I will be happy with the kids. My name is Jody. My second daughter was just a baby when her father, my ex-husband, died. Both my parents were already gone, and I was living in a house that had been left to me by my husband, with a lot of help from my uncle and his wife, who lived close by. My uncle and his wife did not have any themselves, and I had been treated as their own daughter since birth. I started working as an office worker at the company my uncle ran. Although I had been a housewife since getting married, sewing was my hobby, and I hoped to earn income from it someday, enjoying making clothes for my daughters. However, when my husband passed away and we were in financial difficulty, my uncle suggested that we needed a stable income. His company was in manufacturing, small scale but proud of producing quality products. I met my current husband, Ned, at that company. He was also a mid-career hire. He had been through a divorce, and because his previous marriage was with a coworker, he felt uncomfortable and transferred jobs. He was sincere, dedicated to his work, and had a gentle personality, eventually becoming a trusted figure by those around us. We gradually became closer and started dating with the intention of marrying. Ned actively took care of the children, and they adored him, believing that having a father would positively influence the children. I decided to remarry. However, it had been less than 3 years since my previous husband had passed away, and I felt hesitant. I discussed this matter thoroughly with my uncle and asked him and his wife to be witnesses at our wedding. Since both of us were remarrying, we decided to register our marriage quietly without holding a wedding ceremony. Ned moved into the house left by my previous husband, starting a new life there. I was worried that I might resist starting a new life in the house where I lived with my previous husband and suggested it's okay to sell this house and move to a new apartment. But Ned replied, "There's no need for that. The children are used to it here." At that time, I felt that he was considering our needs, but later it became clear that his feelings were different. Ned was an only child and grew up in a household with just his mother. He spent a lot of time with his mother from a young age and cherished her very much. He was concerned about his mother living alone when he married me. Initially, I felt that he was a kind person, but gradually I began to feel that his attitude toward his mother was excessive. It was almost like worship. I hoped that no problems would arise, but those fears became reality. "Jody, I've decided my mother will live here with us," Ned suddenly said one evening after the children had gone to bed. "What? It's fine, isn't it? There's a room available." "That's not the issue," I said, bewildered. "When you say it all of a sudden, don't decide on your own. Let's discuss it." "Why? If my mother wishes, we should comply." "What are you opposed to? My mother is coming here." "Jody, I'm not opposed, but I want some time to think." "What do you need to think about? Do you intend to leave my mother alone as she gets older? I thought you were more compassionate." "That's not it. I had somehow thought that living with my mother-in-law might happen one day. However, I had only met her once when I greeted her at our wedding, and I don't know her well. Although Ned often told me about the wonderful aspects of his mother, it was always from his perspective, and to me she is still a stranger. I feel that suddenly proposing to live together without knowing how well our personalities would mesh is unreasonable. Being asked to suddenly live with my mother-in-law, who hardly knows me or the children, seems forceful. However, since Ned prioritizes his mother, I couldn't express this concern directly to him. Despite my continued ambiguous attitude and avoidance of a clear answer, my feelings were not understood, and eventually my mother-in-law arrived with her belongings on the next holiday. "Jody, I look forward to living together. Pansy and Hannah, I hope you will have fun with Grandma." "Yes. Hello. I am really happy to live in such a spacious house. It's thanks to Ned marrying you, Jody. I'm so lucky to have such a wonderful son. This house was originally built by my previous husband for our family, but my mother-in-law seems to take joy in crediting it to her son. Since she had already given up her previous apartment, I couldn't ask her to leave, and I was left without a way to handle the situation. As a result, I provided the spare room to my mother-in-law, and we started living together. For the children, having someone they had met only once suddenly come into their home and being asked to call her grandma was confusing. The children always stayed close to me and were hesitant around my mother-in-law. Yet she would criticize, "Why are they so unfriendly? Maybe it can't be helped since they don't carry Ned's blood. Jody, what kind of upbringing are you giving them?" My mother-in-law was constantly complaining. She did not take the children to daycare, nor did she prepare meals or bathe them. Moreover, she did not involve herself in any household chores. I was handling all the housework alone: laundry, meal preparation, and cleaning. All of it added to my burden. Even though my mother-in-law was not working, she relaxed at home, watching TV or sometimes going out to shop for things she liked. If she had the means to do so, I wished she would contribute a little to the living expenses, but she never did. I would have liked to set rules before agreeing to live together, but now it is too late. If I try to say anything to my mother-in-law, harsh words are sure to come back, making it difficult. It seems that all my actions and behavior are causing dissatisfaction for my mother-in-law. The house isn't perfectly clean. There's a problem with how the laundry is folded, meals are delayed, the food tastes bland, and she doesn't like how I interact with Ned. The list is endless. I am balancing work and home, giving my all to both child care and household duties. Ned, who used to actively take care of the children, now spends all his time with his mother since she moved in. Ned, your mother is well. It would really help if she could lend a hand. If she could at least look after the children, they might grow closer to their grandma. What are you talking about? Mom raised me by herself and has had a tough life working for many years. I want to let her rest a bit. If that's the case, can't you help out a little? I work in a hot field all year round with overtime every day. Jody, you work in a cool office and get to leave on time. That's true, but I work full-time, and after returning home, I'm swamped with housework and child care, leaving almost no time for myself. Even when I try to rest after the children have gone to sleep, I'm so exhausted that I end up falling asleep with them. Before I know it, morning arrives. This situation has been ongoing. Can't I ask my husband or mother-in-law for help? Furthermore, there's another thing I needed to convey to my mother-in-law. Since she arrived, our utility bills have significantly increased. Despite my efforts to save electricity, water, and gas, the consumption is terrible. Even when my mother-in-law is out, if I turn off the air conditioning, lights, or TV in her room, she would complain, "Why isn't my room comfortable when I return?" She also showers multiple times a day, using the shower and hair dryer as much as she wants. On days she goes out, the consumption of shampoo and body soap is also high. When I asked Ned to speak with her about saving a bit more, he only says, "Mom raised me alone and lived a poor life, so I want her to do as she pleases." Left with no choice, I decided to gently ask my mother-in-law directly. I also told Hannah and Pansy not to waste water or electricity. It would really help if you could cooperate a bit with saving. In response, she looked at me and retorted, "Are you making the children live such a miserable life too?" After voicing a complaint, my mother-in-law seemed to agree, saying, "Well, I understand Ned is earning for us, so I suppose I must endure a bit for his sake." However, this was just a facade. She had a completely different plan hidden beneath, as usual. After putting the children to bed, I dozed off, only to be abruptly awakened by Ned. "Jody, what terrible things have you said to Mom?" Confused and groggy, I couldn't grasp what was happening. Ned was glaring at me, filled with anger. "Why are you so cold?" he accused. "What are you talking about? The kids will wake up." Before I could finish, the 3-year-old Hannah woke up and began to cry. "You told Mom not to use water or electricity, didn't you?" Mom was trembling in a dark, cold room without lights or air conditioning. "What? Who do you think allows us to live here?" "I didn't think you were that kind of person." I hugged crying Hannah and pondered. I had no memory of saying such things to my mother-in-law, and this house wasn't built by Ned. "Ned, I didn't say it like that. I just asked for more cooperation with saving electricity and water. Wasn't your way of speaking too harsh? Mom was hurt by your words, but that really wasn't my intention." I was mistaken to believe that my mother-in-law had genuinely backed down. In fact, she had misled Ned with lies. Ned believed her words and sided with his mother over me. "Jody, apologize to Mom." "What? Just apologize, then Mom will understand." "Right, I don't understand why I need to apologize." Tears are welling up, but it seems I have no choice but to say sorry. She directly threw harsh words at me, but secretly fed lies to Ned while enduring such behavior from her. The days passed by. When would this end? The year became colder. Eventually, the holiday season came, and Ned was out. My mother-in-law was also out with friends, so she wasn't at home. I was spending a calm afternoon with the children for the first time in a while. As we read picture books and sipped hot chocolate, I saw snowflakes fluttering down outside the window. "Look, Pansy, Hannah, it's snowing." When I shouted, Pansy and Hannah cheered and ran towards the window. "Mommy, I want to make a snowman." "Me too," Hannah exclaimed. "Yes, if there's enough snow tomorrow morning, let's make a big snowman together." Yay! The children were unable to hide their excitement and frolicked about. At that moment, Pansy stopped and stared at something. "Pansy, what's wrong?" "Mommy, it's Grandma and Daddy." I sighed inwardly. They were back already. Before I could hear any complaints, I decided to start preparing dinner. Thinking this, I stood up, and at that moment, the front door opened with a loud noise. "Jody," I heard Ned yelling. "What's going on?" Not knowing what was happening, I rushed to the entrance, put on my sandals, and stepped out to the front. "What's going on? How could you not let Mom into the house on such a cold day? What if she got sick outside?" My mother-in-law, wiping tears from her eyes while looking down, passed between Ned and me and entered the house. "Did you lock Mom out?" "Oh, wasn't your mother out with friends?" "Don't lie. She said you made her go outside." "That's absolutely not true. She said she called but couldn't get anyone to let her in. I'm telling you, I didn't do that." "Jody, you've been against living with my mom from the start, haven't you?" "But isn't this treatment too harsh?" "What? How did it come to this?" While we were arguing in front of the house, Pansy and Hannah came outside. "Mommy, what's happening?" "What's going on?" "It's nothing. It's cold. Go back inside." Before I could finish, the door suddenly closed. "What?" "Get out. Go outside and cool down in the cold air." "Wait a minute. This is my house. We're married, so it's my house too." I was locked out, standing in the cold, wearing only my sandals. Not only me, but the young children too. I finally understood. They were trying to push me out of the house and make it their own. How foolish had I been? The only people I could rely on were my uncle and his wife. In the chilly twilight, with snow swirling around us, we desperately headed for my uncle's house, clad only in our light clothes. As darkness gradually fell and the snow intensified, normally the children would have delighted in the snow, but they walked crying. When we saw the light from my uncle's house, I finally broke down and cried. "Uncle Joe, Ned kicked me out of the house," I said. My uncle responded, "Just as I thought. It's good that the marriage certificate hasn't been submitted yet." "What?" "Come on, let's get inside and warm up. Pansy and Hannah must be cold. Don't worry any more." That night we stayed at my uncle and aunt's house. I shared everything that had happened with them. They listened intently to my story as we considered what to do next. My uncle suggested, "Jody, let's go back and reclaim your house." We spent Christmas at my uncle's house, preparing the dishes together with my aunt. After a comforting celebration, though reluctant, I decided to return home. Once I left the children with my aunt and headed to the house in my uncle's car. I parked the car in the driveway and approached the front door alone, pressing the doorbell. "Yes," Ned answered. "It's me, Jody." "Jody, where have you been all this time? Are you done reflecting?" "There's nothing I need to reflect on." The call ended, and soon after, the door opened, and Ned appeared holding a document in his hand. "If you don't understand, it can't be helped. I don't need a wife like you," Ned said as he handed me the divorce papers. "Sign this divorce paper." I couldn't help but laugh. There's no way I could do that. "Well, that's right, isn't it? If you divorce me, you'll be a twice-divorced woman with 2 children. You probably have nowhere to run, right? Just apologize and I'll forgive you." "But we aren't married, are we?" "What? That's right. I'm not your wife or anything." "What? Yes, we're not married, but the marriage certificate, it wasn't submitted." "What? So we aren't married? I can't believe it. How can that be?" "The person who was supposed to act as a witness said he lost the form." "That's a lie. The story about losing the form was a lie, but the truth was that the form had never been submitted." Ned was speechless, his face turning pale. At that moment, a luxury car arrived. It was a high-end foreign car rarely seen around here. The person who stepped out of the car was my uncle. President Ned, my boy, I'm sorry about that. I lost the marriage certificate by mistake." "Ha, it's not a laughing matter. I'm truly sorry. I heard some unfavorable rumors about you, so I decided to wait and see before submitting the certificate." "Rumors? I heard you have a divorce history, paying property division and child support. I knew about the divorce, but you had hidden from Jody that you have children." "Why would you?" "The president of the company you used to work for is a friend of mine. He told me a bit about your situation." "What?" "There's no issue with you working at my company, but it's a different story when it comes to marrying my lovely niece." "What? Didn't Jody tell you her father was my brother?" "What were you targeting Jody for?" "Her house." "Trying to ease your mother's life." "What's wrong with taking care of my parent? How can you destroy someone else's happiness? Leave Jody's house." "You tricked me." "Tricked is such a harsh word. I was thinking we could submit the form after you two were settled and had a proper discussion. Besides, it seems you were the one who deceived Jody." "Damn it." Ned, furious, tore up the divorce papers he was holding. "Thanks to my uncle, we were able to protect the house that my late husband had left for us. Ned and his mother moved out and started living in an affordable rental apartment. Ned quit his regular job and is now getting by with day-to-day part-time jobs while looking for stable employment. He continues to make payments for property division and child support to his ex-wife and their children, placing him under severe financial strain. I heard his situation is quite dire due to this ongoing financial burden. Moreover, his mother has a spending habit that makes it impossible for Ned, however hard he works, to keep up with her excessive spending. The high utility bills we experienced while she was living with us were due to habits formed during their time living as a single-parent family, not out of malice. Shortly after Ned left our home, I also made the decision to quit my job. The bad reputation at work influenced my decision, but more importantly, I had a strong desire to spend more time with my children. As part of this new lifestyle, my uncle fully supported my decision, and I started a new career as a children's clothes designer, making handmade children's clothes from my home. Initially, I registered with online handmade markets and actively participated in local events. These activities were well received, and later I opened my own online shop and even started consigning my products in local stores. Currently, I am learning business operations from my uncle while preparing to launch my own company. Pansy and Hannah are growing up fast, and the opportunities for them to wear the clothes I make are gradually becoming less frequent. However, I dream of dressing my grandchildren in these clothes one day. With these hopes in mind, I spend my busy days feeling fulfilled.